A very good morning, students. I hope you all are keeping well and enjoyed the Dussehra holidays. We are having theme 4. So today I am in front of you with the unit 2 types of simple machines. That is from theme 4 energy. Okay. In the last class we have learned about the machines. Okay, about the machines. What type of machines we have learned? We have learned simple machines and the complex machines. Okay, so simple machines, that is a simple whatever the things we are using, whatever things to make our work easy. No? So that the machines. So complex machines means the many of the machines together is used in a complex machine. So that is a complex machine. Okay. So in the last class also we have learned the simple machines like lever, inclined plane, wheel and axle, wedge, screw. These are many of machines. How it is used, where it is used, which type of wedge it is. Okay. These type of many. What is the importance? Okay. These type of things we have learned. Okay. And today we are going to learn about the main topics only we will learn according to, since the syllabus is according to your ICSE board. Okay, so some of the topics are omitted in it. Okay, so in this chapter, whatever the topics you have to learn, that I have noted down here. Okay, so in this chapter we are having only these topics. Okay, that is, first is lever, second lever of the first order, lever of the second order, lever of the third order and the pulley. And other topics like wedge, inclined plane, wheel and axle, screw, these type of topics are omitted from your syllabus in this topic. Only you have to learn it very clearly, that is with the diagram. Here whatever the topics I have given you, the diagram will be there, their diagrams and their examples. So students, learn it very carefully and listen very carefully and read the book. Okay, so questions will be asked from these topics. Is that clear, students? To start with the lever, let me give you an example of seesaw. Okay, will be the best example of this lever. Okay, so see, here you are seeing that this is a seesaw and it is there on the surface. This is on the surface. Now here, this thing is in the last class I explained you the point where the seesaw, the rigid body on the surface, on the fulcrum. Okay, in the fixed point. This is a fixed point. It is there inside this. Like it is fixed in this part. Okay, it is fixed in the surface. And the students are sitting at the right and left part of the seesaw. Yes, that is the thing. It goes up and comes down. No? The same thing happens here also. It goes here up and down. Yes. So this is the free point. This is called a fulcrum. Okay. So how this seesaw, how it moves up and down. Okay. This is a rigid bar. Okay. So this is a fine example. This is a good example of lever. Now the lever, how you will explain it, that a lever is a rigid bar. This is a rigid bar. Okay, which can rotate about a fixed point, which can rotate. It can be rotated this side also, like this also it can rotate. It can rotate like this. Okay, any part it can rotate. Okay, if it is there like this, if I am putting like this is my finger is a fulcrum. How it will rotate? It will rotate like this rigid part. Okay, this is a rigid bar. It will rotate like this. The same thing, it is on the fulcrum. Okay, called the axis of rotation. That axis of rotation is called a fulcrum. Now this is the fulcrum where this rigid bar is taking rotation. Is that okay? That rotation part, the axis of rotation part is called as fulcrum. Okay, this is fulcrum where the rigid bar is there. Okay, is that clear? But the fulcrum will be in the fixed point. It will not move. It will be on the fixed point. Okay. Clear, students? So, a lever is a rigid bar which can rotate about a fixed point or a fixed line called the axis of rotation. The point or the axis of rotation is called the fulcrum. Is that clear, students? I am having an example. See if I am cutting a scissor. Okay, if I'm taking a scissor, so let me start with the scissor. Now this is a rotating. Where it is rotating? See, from where it is rotating? It is rotating. This is rotatable. No? Where it is rotating? Which is a fixed part? Here, if you see, this is the fixed part. This is the middle. Yes, it is a fixed part, and this is moving in this size. Okay. Yes, rotating. So this point is called a fulcrum, and effort where we are putting, this is the effort what we are giving to it. Okay, this is the effort, and what we are keeping, the load we are keeping. So how we will keep a load? Okay, see, this is a load. Now this is effort I am putting on. Now I am just cutting this. This is a load. This is a load. Okay, so how this load, this is a load we are keeping on it, that is a load. Is that clear, students?
The lever. When we want to raise a huge rock, we could use all our strength to move it. On the other hand, you could move the rock with a rod by applying less force. The energy you spent would be much less. Here, the rod is called a lever. The rock is the weight or a load, L. A small stone kept near the rock under the rod acts as a support for the rod. The point where the rod touches the small stone in the is the fulcrum, F. The force applied to push the rod down is the effort, E. The levers are classified into 3 types: lever of the first class order, lever of the second order, and lever of the third order.
Okay, for the first part we had lever, explanation of lever. So I hope you understood the topic lever. Now we have lever of first order. Now for that I have made one diagram, that is in this is a fulcrum, okay, and this is a rigid structure, rigid beam or a rigid bar. Okay, in that we are just putting an effort on it. Okay, this is an effort. Okay, we are putting an effort, and we have kept one load over here. Okay, for example, this is a load. Okay, this is a load I kept on it. Yes, students. This is a load kept on the other side. Okay, but the point in it is that to understand, to remember, you should every time think that the fulcrum will be in between the load and the effort. Okay, so when we are putting the effort, and this is a load. Okay, this is a load, and what will be the effort arm? This will be the effort arm. This is called as effort arm. From here to here, it is a effort arm, and this is the load arm. Is that clear, students? This is the load arm. Okay. Now here, so some of the students were asking about the mechanical advantage. So it is, the mechanical advantage is also related to this. Now see, first let me clear you, again I should clear you about the mechanical advantage. Now see, mechanical advantage we have learned load upon effort. So what is the mechanical advantage? So for example, when we are, I have to explain you about the tin and the spoon when we are opening. No? So what is the effort we are putting to overcome the resistance? Okay, the load we have put, the lid is a load. Okay, when we are opening the can, the lid of the can, that what happens, the load is a lid. Okay, we are just putting the effort to overcome the resistance. Okay, so that it, anyhow that spoon is touching somewhere in the surface, it is touching, it is just opening like this. It is opening like this means it is surface, it is overcoming the resistance. Okay, now here, now what we are doing, we are putting an effort. So same thing. So if I am putting an effort to it, okay, for example, so load upon, that's why we are writing load upon effort. So in this, in first order, okay, the first characteristic is that the fulcrum will be every time in the first class order, the fulcrum will be in between the load and the effort. Okay, now here the mechanical advantage on this structure, how it is, now see. Now load upon effort we have learned, okay. So in that load upon effort, it can also be written as load arm upon effort arm. Okay students. Now here, this you understood. Now for example, if I am putting an effort of, if I am putting a load of 100 Newton, I am keeping here as 100 Newton. If I am putting here 100 Newton and I am putting an effort only 10 Newton. First case. Okay, if I am putting like this, now what will be the first case, what I am doing? 100 Newton and 10 effort I am putting 10 Newton. Now what is happening now? Here, are you able to understand? Now? When we are putting a force on something, so when it is multiplied, then the load comes up. When we are putting a force on it, the load comes up naturally. Okay, so same thing, this is the content happening over here. So students, in first case what happens? If I am giving load upon effort, in first case the load is 100 Newton and effort is 10 Newton. So that means the mechanical advantage will be 100 Newton upon 10 Newton. So okay, so that means it will be, what is that? It is, by cancelling you will get 10. Why 10? See, that's why it is unitless, because it is written in ratio and Newton will be cancelled. So it will be that's why mechanical advantage is unitless. Is that clear students? Now here we have got 10 which is greater than 1. Okay, so mechanical advantage is greater than 1. Now this we got. Now suppose in the second case, if I am taking here 50, if I am taking here 50, effort 50 and load I am taking 50, then what happens? Equal efforts come. Now effort is equal, effort and load is both are equal. Now mechanical advantage will be 50 upon 50. That is equal to 1. Is that clear students? Now in the third case, if I am giving the effort more, okay, if I am giving the effort here 100, if I am giving 100 here and if I am giving here 10, then what happens? Now see, what will be the mechanical advantage? The mechanical advantage will be 10 Newton upon 100. So that means it will be 0.1. So that means it is smaller than 1. Yes. So that's why it is satisfies that mechanical advantage can be greater than 1. Okay. Or it can be mechanical advantage can be equal to 1. Yes. And mechanical advantage can be smaller than 1. Is that clear students? Now this satisfies for first class order, lever of first class order. Okay, is that clear students? I hope you understood the figure, diagram and the classification. Is that clear? So what is that? The lever, in the first class order lever, the fulcrum will be in the middle of the variable, but it will be middle of the effort and the load. Is that clear students? Now see students, I am having an example. Scissor example I explained you beforehand only. Now see, if I want to remove this I am showing by the hand, okay. this claw hammer is here. I'm just removing this nail from the hand. Okay, this is the, okay, this is, it is like this. Okay, how I will make it? So it is, I'm putting an effort in my handle, this hand. Okay, this is an effort and this is a load. This nail is a load. How I am picking it up. Okay, see. So it is, see, where the fulcrum used in this portion, because here the surface it is touching. Okay, now how the nail is coming out? By overcoming the resistance, and how it is coming out, but the portion of the claw hammer is touching at the surface. Now surfing, this rotation is called a fulcrum. Okay, is that clear, students? So here effort and this is a load. Now this is in the middle, fulcrum is in the middle. Okay, so that's why it is a example of lever of first order. Is that clear?
Lever of the first class order. When the fulcrum F is in between the load L and the effort E, it is a first class lever. Examples of first class levers are scissors, claw hammers, seesaw, crowbar, pliers, etc.
Now we are talking about the lever of the second order. Now in this case, now what happens? Now the fulcrum is in the end, one end. Okay, fulcrum is at the one end, and from there the rigid bar is there. Okay, this is rigid bar or a beam or anything you can say, it is a bar. Okay, from here the fulcrum is a fixed point. From here only the work will be done. Okay, the fulcrum, it is a F is a, this is a F, this is a fulcrum. Okay, yes, it is a fulcrum, and this is a load. The load kept is over here. Okay, so here it is a effort. So we are putting an effort. Okay, this is an effort. So this is an effort means it can move anywhere. Okay, so this is an effort means this effort. See, for example, this is a point. So you know that in a lever, in case of lever, that means this rigid bar can move any direction. Okay, since it is a fulcrum, this is a fixed point, so it can move from here to here or here to here, wherever it can move. But the thing is that here one thing is noted down, that we are having one load over here. There we are having a load on it. Okay, we are having a load on it. We have given the alphabet B and here A as effort. Is that clear, students? Here we are having load. Okay, since now if we talk about now for second order, we will tell that the load is situated in between the fulcrum and the effort. Is that clear? So this is fixed at a point, that is this point at a fulcrum, it is fixed. It is fixed. It is not moving, but this rigid bar can move, but the load is in between here. Okay, load is between in the second order. In the first order the fulcrum was in the middle, but in this the load is in the middle of fulcrum and the effort. Is that clear? Now we have, now for the calculation, how we can say that mechanical advantage is always greater. Now see, now how we can understand, see, we know that mechanical advantage is equal to load upon effort. Yes, we are having like this. So we can calculate one more thing over here, that is, see, this is a load, this will become, this is a fulcrum, this can become a load arm. Okay, and this can become an effort arm. Yes, so by seeing only you can understand effort arm. By seeing only you can understand this effort arm is greater than the load arm. Load arm every time it will be less only, and the effort arm will be the greater. Okay, then the mechanical advantage will be different, isn't it? So we have to calculate the distance between it. Okay, so if you are calculating the distance, so it will become effort arm, because effort, by seeing only you can understand the effort arm is greater here. Okay, so the effort arm upon the load arm. So if effort arm will be, so that means this effort arm will be large. Okay, and the load arm will be small. That means when we calculate it, what we will get the mechanical advantage? Mechanical advantage will be greater than or more than 1. Is that clear, students? Now you understood? Now see, this is lever of the second order. Second order means the load is situated in between the fulcrum and the effort. Is that clear, students? So this point you have to remember. Is that clear, students? Take an example of nutcracker. The nutcracker, how it is? See, when we cut it, the nutcracker, when what we are doing, we are keeping one nut inside, and then we are just cracking it. We are putting a force, we are multiplying it. So that's why this second order is also called, when we are putting an effort, our work is multiplying. Okay, when we are putting an effort to the load, our work is multiplying. So it is also called as, this can also be said as force multiplier. This lever, this second order lever is also called as force multiplier or effort multiplier. Is that clear? Because since we are having an example, so what I said, nutcracker, that is an example of this, because we are putting an effort to crack that nut. How much effort we are putting, and the work, how the machine is doing. The machine is multiplying our work. Okay, so that's why it just, then after effort, just we are multiplying the effort, so that is force multiplier or effort multiplier. So this second order lever is also called as force multiplier or effort multiplier. Okay, students?
Lever of the second order. When the load L is in between the fulcrum F and the effort E, it is a second class order. Examples of second class levers are bottle opener, can openers, wheelbarrows, and nutcrackers.
Now students, we are going to learn about the lever of the third order. Now here in this also the diagram will be same, but the place will be different. Now see, here it is the fulcrum. Okay, it is a fulcrum. Okay, this rigid bar, it is free from wherever it can move. In the second order I explained you the same thing. Okay, now here in this case what happens? Here F is the fulcrum. Here the effort will be here in the middle. Okay, the effort is given in the middle, and the load will be at the another end. Okay, and that will be B. Okay, students, this is A. This effort will be in the middle, in the between the load and the fulcrum. In the last case, in the previous case, what it was, the load was in between the fulcrum and the effort. But in this case, the effort will be situated in between the fulcrum and the load. Now here, how we will find out the mechanical advantage? So for finding, first we will note down what will be that the effort is situated between the fulcrum and the load. Okay. So in this case, now what happens? Now see here, if I calculate the distance, now what will happen? See, this is the effort arm. Yes, effort is here. So this is less. Effort arm is less. Okay. And here from here, it will be the load arm. Yes, this is the load arm. Load arm is larger. So from this, we are having the mechanical advantage in the previous that we learned. What we have having the formula? Effort arm upon the load arm. Yes, this was the formula. Then how it will be? Now see, effort arm is less. Okay, if effort arm is less, that means MA will be, this effort arm is less and the load arm is greater. That means what will happen? If denominator is greater than the the numerator is greater than the denominator, then what happens? MA is less than 1. Okay, MA will be less than 1. So in that case, what happens? See, the force, now what happens is, that's why the mechanical advantage of this lever, third order lever, will be 1. Okay, so when we are putting and force on it, then the work done is in a speed manner. Okay, so that's why this lever is also called as speed multiplier. Okay. Okay, this lever is also called as speed multiplier lever. Okay. So, for example, if I am taking a knife, okay, when I need to cut something, okay, so knife, when we are holding the knife, that is a fulcrum over there. When we are putting an effort, when we are cutting it, we are putting an effort on it. When we are cutting the slice of bread, already in your book the example is given. Okay, so effort, when we are cutting the force done to cut that bread, the sliced bread. So the fulcrum, the fixed point is here, the hand. Okay, but the effort what we are doing, what for doing the cutting the thing, cutting the load. So that is the third order. Is that clear? So think that same thing. So how we cut it? The speed is applied, the force is applied, and it is multiplying. Speedily it is doing. Okay. So it is speed multiplier. So the examples will be fire tongue, or the ice cubes we are picking up the holder to pick the ice cubes. So these type of things are come under the third order. Okay, students.
Lever of the third order. When the effort E is in between the fulcrum F and the load L, it is a third class lever. Examples of third class levers are ice tongs, spades, fishing ropes, and forceps, etc. Okay, students. Now we are going to discuss the last topic of the chapter named pulley. Till now, we have learnt what are simple machines and what are the various types of simple machines. Even pulley falls under the type of simple machines. Okay, students. So let's start with our topic, that is pulley. Now we will begin with defining that what are pulley. Pulley is a flat circular disc having a groove in its edge. So we will just pick out the important points from the definition. Pulley is nothing, a flat circular disc having a groove in its edge, and it is capable of rotating around a fixed point passing through its central axis, commonly called as axle. Now here you can see An image of pulley in this, if we go by a definition, pulley is a circular disc. This circular disc, I am drawing that, I am outlining the circular disc. We are talking about the definition. Pulley is a flat circular disc having a groove. You can see there is a groove inwards of the circular disc. This is how we get our pulley, by making groove in a circular disc. It is capable of rotating. Now here you can see there is a nut, and that nut is in the center of the circular disc. This acts as the axle. This axle makes it possible groove to rotate around the axle. This system is said as defined as pulley. Let's repeat the definition. Students, pulley is a flat circular disc having a groove in its edge and capable of rotating around a fixed point passing through its central axis, commonly called axle. Now, pulley can made from different materials. Generally, pulleys are made from some metals, but when pulleys were invented and when these machines kept into usage, they were made of wood. Even today, in villages, someone has to draw water, they use such kind of pulleys to help them. Those pulleys are not made up of generally metal, but also be made up of wood. Okay, students. Now let's see various components of pulley. Now for a pulley, we need to attach it somewhere. So we defined a term called block. We have a circular disc here, right? So we call this circular disc as our pulley. This is circular disc we are talking in our definition. Then this circular disc have one important feature, that is it have groove which can rotate, that can passes through it. Generally, pulleys are used in combination with ropes, so the rope can pass over the groove and can be used to conveniently to do a task. Okay, students. Now this is a flat disc. That means the circular portion is flat from the outside, and this is our axle around which the pulley is fixed to rotate. That you can see these arrows are actually showing the rotation for the pulley. Then we have a hook here. So anything you need to rotate or attach, that you can attach to the hooks. Okay, students. So this is the diagram of various components of pulley. Now we are going to learn various combinations. Let's say the pulley is used to lift heavy weight, or actually you have already learned in simple machines that simple machines help by changing the direction of force. That means, okay students, what do you think about this? Yes, that means if I have a pulley here and the rope is going like this and one rope is going like this, I can use it to add my effort and load in this manner. That means my pulley is this over the groove and my rope is there. My effort will be in the downward direction and the load on applying the effort will be in the upward direction. That is my direction, the force changed using the pulley. Now we can use pulleys and various combinations of pulleys to do the task. If we need to lift a heavy load, a very heavy load, we can use instead of one pulley some more combination of pulleys. So we are going to learn about two combinations. That is, number one, single fixed pulley system, and the second is single movable pulley system. Okay, so there are two systems we are going to learn apart. Now let's start with the first one, single fixed pulley system. The diagram shows you the arrangement of single fixed pulley system. In this case, the pulley is fixed with the point, let's say block, as we understood earlier. What we are seeing here is a rope that I am tracing right now, that is going over the groove of the pulley and then further is used to lift a load or anything else that is made the pulley for. In this case, the effort is applied in the downward direction on this side, and because of this the load is going upward. So how does a single fixed pulley works? It consists of a single pulley. As we see here, the rope passes through the groove. As we see here, one end of the rope is attached to the load. Effort is applied on the other end of the rope. So the rope going over the pulley is on one end applies the effort, and the other end is the load is kept. Now we understand the uses of single fixed pulley. Single fixed pulley is the one that we can see used to lift water out of well in villages. If you ever visited a village, you might have seen the people use well system to get the water. It is very difficult to pull or actually get water out of so much depth. In that case, pulley comes as the aid, and in this case the pulley is used as what kind? It is of single fixed pulley system. So the rope is going over the groove. This my load and the effort will be applied at the other end of the rope. Let's move on to the second one. The second one is the single movable pulley system. The name suggests that one pulley is movable while the other is fixed. In this case, we have the pulley attached, let's say this as P2 and this is pulley P1. Okay, so the rope go like this above onto the groove of P2 and onto the groove of P1. In this case, effort is applied on this side of the rope attached to P1, and the load is pulled using the other pulley, that is load attached to P2. So it is made by combination of two pulleys. As you already saw that such pulleys, half the effort is required to raise the load. Now why we are actually using combination of pulley? Because my effort to pull a load decreases by the half amount. That means, what do you mean by this, students? Let's say the effort or the force required to pull the load of this 100 kgf, so the effort required would be just 50 kgf. That means my effort decreases by increasing the number of pulleys. This kind of combination is used in crane. Now, crane is already an example of a lever machine. It uses the mechanism of lever. For lifting heavy load, there are different pulleys depending on load we use. So, in these kind of machines, we use single movable pulley system.
Okay students, I hope all of you understood these topics very clearly. Have a good day. Take care.